Hello and welcome to On the Sofa with Simi, the brains behind Bellissimi Beauty. This is a safe space where I'll be sharing and discussing all things related to marriage, motherhood, makeup, and everything in between for women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. So, if you don't already know me, I'm your host Simi. I have over 10 years of experience in the beauty industry, specifically in makeup, aesthetics, and microblading. In those 10 years, I've gone from traveling the world doing makeup and basically living the dream to almost giving up during the pandemic to then becoming a wife and a mum in my early 30s. I'm here to share all my knowledge, tips, and tricks that I've learned along the way, just like the best friend you never knew you needed. So grab a cuppa, get cozy, and let's sit on this sofa and have a chat. And with that, let's get right into this week's episode.
Well. Look at us surviving half term. I mean, if it is your half term and it's only Tuesday, my thoughts and prayers are with you. If you've had your half term last week, like I have, and you are barely surviving and you're currently rocking in the corner of your bedroom, I promise that's not me. But if you hear some squeaky noises, mind your own damn business. But yeah, half term, we have made it, or we are making it, and we are getting through. I mean, it's really not talked about enough, but the mental chaos that half term or holidays in general can cause, it's actually mind blowing. So, as you all probably know, my son is now 2. He was 2 last week, or whenever it was, week before. And the terrible twos have hit us like a giant wrecking ball. There's no other way of describing it. So fine, he's 2. He still poops his own pants and needs us to wipe his backside. So you think, cool, he's not going to have much of an attitude. He's not going to really want to do things and know what's what. I could understand if your child was a bit older, Mum, I want to do this. Dad, I want to go out. Oh, I don't want to watch TV. Oh, I don't want to read a book, whatever. I understand that. That makes sense. But to have a little 2-year-old dictator never crossed my mind. So, saying that, he had his little birthday party at a soft play centre. It cost a bloody fortune, by the way, but hey, I'll get into that another time. But yeah, it was amazing. It was lovely. But I was so over bloody stimulated. The noise, the sounds, the colours. It was a lot. And then he just refused to nap, and then that just set us on a spiral for the whole half term. So his birthday was on the Saturday of us breaking up. And yeah, that basically set the tone for the whole week. And I really struggled. If you follow my social media, you know over the last couple of days, towards the end of last week, I really struggled. Something came over me. I'm pretty sure one of the planets was imploding because there's no other explanation of why I felt that way. I mean, it could be the accumulation of a lot of things, or it could be the fact that this half term just literally tipped me over the edge. I'm sure a lot of people think, and by the way, I don't care what people think, but you do hear the comments, oh, he's only 2, why is he in nursery? I mean, it's like a preschool nursery, and honestly, not that it's anyone's damn business, but I think I also need it for me. Don't get me wrong, the main thing is for his development and his education, and he's come on leaps and bounds. He has a speech delay, apparently. We weren't sure. It was originally we were thinking he could be autistic. Obviously, it's too young to diagnose yet, but from what the specialists have seen, it seems to be a speech delay. So already being in this nursery school, he is speaking. I mean, he's speaking gibberish, but he's speaking. Do you know what I mean? So I've got to take the wins where I can. He's probably cussing me out under his breath, but you know what? As long as I can hear those words, I'm all good. On top of that, his social skills. He has a better social life than me, I kid you not. Like, his party was jam-packed, and I've already got another 3 invites for various parties coming up over the next, month or so before Christmas. But yeah, his social skills have developed. His self-awareness has developed. Like, he knows how to communicate what he wants. He knows also what to do when he doesn't get what he wants. And the fact that he can differentiate between home and nursery. I went yesterday and I said, look, how's he been? Because we obviously noticed a massive change in his behaviour over half term, and I'll chat about this a bit later. He started getting violent, he's lashing out when he doesn't get what he wants, and he's a strong kid. I mean, he is bloody strong, and it hurts. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've had tears in my eyes before, and I've called him things I shouldn't be calling him, and it happens. I went to nursery, I said, he's not, hitting any other children, is he? He's not scratching himself when he can't get his own way. He's not throwing things. And she was like, no, he's the kindest child we've ever met. And I was like, what? Hold on, what? I mean, low-key, I was buzzing inside. But I was like, is this the same kid? Like, what happens when he walks through those doors? And again, of course, they say that your child lashes out because they're most comfortable around you. And, between you and me, I can't imagine how frustrating it must be for him to kind of be pointing at stuff or speaking in his little gibberish and not understanding why his mummy doesn't know what he's saying. Like, that must be really tough. So I really appreciate and understand how frustrated he must be. But the way he lashes out about it, that's what's starting to get me down. But on the flip side of that, I'm also really glad he's not doing it in public. So that's a good sign, I guess. So yeah, soft play on Saturday. And literally the next day, we were out with his grandparents and his auntie and uncle, and fever. So he obviously caught something from the cesspit of the ball pit. Germs, whatever, lurgy, fine. So a couple of days, that was us written off. And then we get to midweek last week, and this is where I started kind of having a bit of a meltdown. Because I'm looking at my child, who I absolutely love more than life itself, and then finances come into play, right? I mean, nothing in this world is free, and there's not much you want to do in Manchester city centre at the parks when we're aiming towards winter. It's not that pleasant, and it's full of all the weed smokers and the crackheads, so we kind of avoid that after a certain time. But yeah, it's half term. His friends are, popping out, the friends are on holiday and stuff. And again, it's no comparison, not jealous. There's nothing like that. It's just more like, oh, what can we do for Taryn? But I'll be honest with you, my mental health was absolutely shot. So we spent the whole half term indoors. And I'm looking back now and I'm absolutely gutted for him. And the thing is, I feel like he deserves so much more. And then on this flip side, well, he's not going to remember. He's not going to remember, but I remember. I look at these last 2 years and yeah, maybe in 5, 6, 10 years time, I can look back and say, oh God, what a blip. Thank God Taryn doesn't remember, but I will always remember. And that's what saddens me, that I'm in the prime of my life, let's say mid-30s, fit and healthy-ish. And I should be about running, playing football, doing this, going out, going swimming. But sometimes I don't have the energy to brush my hair, wash my face, get up. That's the God's honest truth. And like I say, if you saw my kind of mini meltdown on Instagram last week, am I sharing too much? Please drop me a message if so, because I'll need to work on that. Although I did do a poll, and a lot of you were saying, give us more. So, easy guys, easy. Bearing my soul for you here. My skin literally ended up looking like the planet that has probably imploded somewhere, because I hadn't washed my face for pretty much 5 or 6 days, and it really, really affected me. Because if I've been open about this in the past and the loss of our baby and things like that, skincare really became therapeutic for me, which is why I'm huge on the new skincare bandwagon and why I preach about it so much on my socials, because I have seen the benefits of it, not physically just on my skin, apart from obviously this week where I ended up looking like a pizza, but also the mental kind of repetition and the familiarity and the routine of it really helped me kind of get out of a funk that I was in for a long time. But over this half term, I've not had time to do it. And then I've not had time for myself, those 5-10 minutes. Then that had a knock on effect on my mood, and then the knock on effect on how I was with Taryn. And then it was just a cycle. It was just a horrible, horrible, vicious cycle, which he just absolutely did not deserve. So I'm sat there thinking I'm the world's worst mum. I think I even put that on one of my stories, literally I'm a shit mum, and that's how I feel. But then you're not. This is the hardest thing. I know I'm not, because people are saying, oh, if you feel like that, it shows that you're not, because you bothered about being a good mum. And I appreciate that, and it makes sense to me now. But when you're in that moment, when you're in that zone of like darkness and just emptiness, nothing really makes a difference. And this is what I want to talk about, that as mums, we do get it. And as mums, it's also okay to feel like that. And of course, here I am sat talking about my mum guilt, because I feel bad for not taking him out every single day of the week. And then on top of that, how will he feel when he's older? Will he remember? Obviously, I know he won't, but you never know kids these days. He's super smart. It's terrifying. His memory is also bizarre, so it would not surprise me if he remembered. But I think we need to start having more of an open conversation about when we're not okay, because I I've really seen the benefits of taking time for myself. And when you even just saying those words, time, mums can't have time for themselves. What is time? Is time 5 seconds? Is it 5 hours? That's the thing. It doesn't matter. It's what works for you and your family. And of course, I am very, very blessed to have such a supportive partner, father for Taryn, husband, that he will allow me to have my time, because I think he also realizes that you can't pour from an empty cup. You know, we all have mental health difficulties and issues and down days, and it's about not letting those down days consume us. And that's what I'm really struggling with, or was struggling with, because before I didn't really have a reason to get out of bed. Like, half term, schmalf term didn't really make a difference. Obviously, having Taryn, I want to get up and do stuff. So even if I don't feel like it, I push myself. Whether that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing, I don't know. But I know in my heart of hearts, I'm going to bloody well damn keep pushing myself as much as I can. When I can, though, that's the difference. Not every day, because that's not possible. But on days where I'm like, you know what, I can do it. It's going to be tough, but you know what, let's put on my big girl pants and let's go. So, for example, he had a Halloween party on Sunday. If any of you saw the cutest pumpkin walking down the street, that was my son. I'm not going to lie. He will probably kill me when he's older. I fully expect that. But he was the cutest pumpkin I've ever seen. But I went there. Yes, it was for Taryn. Yes, it was for him to see his little friends and have a little disco with some glow sticks. Brought back some great memories, not going to lie. But also it was for me. You forget that connection and speaking to other people. You don't have to sit there and talk about your life story. You know, I've had a shit week and I'm crying and boohoo, life's all terrible. But just sitting there, just having a chat. We went to a cheapy, cheerful pizza place in Manchester that I used to go to when I was a student. And it was just nice sitting there. How's Taryn doing? Oh, cool. How's so-and-so doing? Oh, yeah, look at them playing together. Look at them running. We were just talking about rubbish. You know, it wasn't even anything relevant. It wasn't like we were passing on secret parenting hacks and tips. It was just general chit chat. And it was nice to get out the house for a while. And I kick myself now because I'm thinking, why didn't I just do it? Why didn't I just get my Nike trainers on and do it? P.S. They're not sponsoring this part of the video, by the way. Maybe one day, but hey ho. You know, I wish I just got out of my own head and did it. But sometimes it's just not possible. And if you're listening to me, hopefully you got to this part, you know, it's okay to get those days as well. That's why I want to try and put across, like, as bleak as it was last week, I knew it would be okay, and I knew I'd potentially be talking about it in my episode at some point in the future. But at that time, it doesn't stop those feelings. Those feelings are very real, you know. Our subconscious and our unconscious and conscious, sorry, I think they're the same thing, aren't they? They don't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. So if you've really convinced yourself you're in a bad space mentally and physically, your body will really feel like it is. And that blew my mind, because our mind is so powerful. I mean, I'm digressing here, but I'm not saying we can just wake up and convince ourselves that everything's okay and hunky-dory, but I think just understanding that a bad day doesn't equal a bad life, and things could always be better. I 100% preach on that, because I always want to improve myself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I always think there's room for growth, and no matter what you do. And that includes being a mum, I guess. But those growth spurts, let's call them, also require days of rest. And that rest could be taking time for yourself, whether for me, it was literally 2 or 3 days. I'm not going to lie to you. Those 2 or 3 days, I didn't wash my face. I didn't get out of bed really. I didn't change my clothes. It was embarrassing as hell. But I knew in my mind, Taryn's got his party. Taryn's got school this week. I want to go see those mums. And not that I expect to kind of put on anything, any kind of mask and try and be something I'm not. I'm literally in my pajamas when I dropped them off. And I'm not one of those mums. My pajamas aren't pajamas, if you know what I mean. I didn't wear a bra, though. I'm not going to hide that from you. But, you know, my husband's hoodie kind of helped. But anyway, what am I even talking about? That's totally irrelevant. But I mean, I knew, cool, Taran, he's going to see his friends. I love seeing his little face when he runs into nursery to see his teachers. And oh my God, his school photos came back, by the way. If you've seen them on my social media, wow. I mean, how did they get him to pose like that? He's got one leg over the other. He's resting on his hands on his chin. Like, how the hell? But anyway, you know, he loves that place. He loves that nursery. So for me, do you know, half term was hard as balls. It really was. But him being in nursery being in that social setting where he can learn, he can grow, he feels loved. I know he feels loved, and that's what's beautiful. He's had childminders in the past. He'll come home crying, or he wasn't settled, and I never really knew what that meant. And that comes with a whole host of other guilt, like, God, were they okay with him? I don't believe they're abusing him or anything like that at all, by the way. I just mean maybe he didn't feel safe. But he's in an environment now where he feels safe. He can just be his little weird and wonderful self, obviously minus the violence. But for me, that is more important. So do you know what? I'm going to sit here. I'm going to cry about half term. I'm going to cry about Christmas holidays. I'm already crapping my pants about Christmas holidays, which is what, 6 weeks away. But you know what? We'll ride the storm together. Me and him, me, him and Dan, me, him, Dan, and you, if you're listening. My DMs are always open, as you know. So please, please, if you're having a meltdown like I did, I was open about it. Please be open about it with me too, because I feel you. And again, I cannot even fathom what it's going to be like when he's older and he wants to do stuff. Right now, Miss Rachel and Blippi, they ride the storm with me, but I know he's going to outgrow them pretty soon because, like I said, he's far too smart. But anyway, as always, if you got to the end of this episode, thank you so, so much for listening. I really appreciate you being here. If you did get any value from this episode, please drop me a message. Any questions or comments, my DMs are always open. And as always, thank you so, so much for joining me on my sofa. Take care. If it is your half term, do you know what? Enjoy it. Enjoy the crappy days too, because they're not going to come around again. And if you've survived your half term, congratulations. Let's go get a drink ASAP. But otherwise, thank you